survival of the fittest with Mob Deep. Very welcome, everybody, to our premiere of the Survival of the Fittest webinar series. This is the very first one, and what we will do is to present the versatility of Crunchfish, really, in the area of digital cash, in gestures, and interact with you, the audience. I'm going to start with a short presentation on topic, max 10 minutes. That's at least the plan. You can start filling in questions. We won't answer that until afterwards, but we have a panel here from India. We have Gagan Koshar, our senior business developer. And then we have from, where are you, Magnus? Is it Stockholm?
Yes, Stockholm.
Stockholm. Magnus calling in from Stockholm. He is our chief product officer from the digital cash area as well. So we will be the panel, and we will have about, well, I think 10, 20 minutes maybe of questions. And then we've added a co-creation or participation session where we really would invite you to help us to become even better. Not just ask questions of what we do, but we're sure that you have plenty of ideas of what we're doing. So we would love to hear what you think and if we can do things even better. So let's go. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. We've been talking about cash goes digital. This is something that is sort of looking at how easy it is to pay with cash, but doing it digitally instead. And we've been working with that for a long time. And we came up with a product called the Digital Cash offline sort of product. And in this webinar, I'm going to tell you a little bit what is digital cash. And also what is the major sort of topic of today is that how we have moved from offline product to a digital cash platform. And then I'll go into some detail and describing a little bit about how balances is actually traveling through layers here in our solution. Because what it really becomes, this solution, is that it's not just like cash goes digital, but it's also that digital goes cash, the other way around. And what I mean with that is that digital payment services start to become as easy and as robust as paying with cash. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But this is the agenda. So, as said, digital cash payments, it's some sort of a merger between digital payments and cash payments. Digital payments has, you know, it's more efficient and you don't have to have paper money. But cash payments has its properties as well, extremely easy to use, and it's, you know, it's final when you have just handed over some cash to someone, then it's settled, and then you don't have to be reliant on the net or if any core banking systems are working or not, you know, it just works. And digital cash, what we have tried to do is to keep those properties. It should be as easy as digital or smooth and efficient as digital, but also keep the cash properties. So digital payments, this is sort of a description what digital payments is. That if we start at the bottom left corner, there is a payer there who can be using his mobile app, sitting maybe at home, paying via their computer, using the web. And then what I mean with the step payment is that in some way you have to notify or get the recipient of that payment to be aware that a payment has happened. And a digital payment has that step of that the payer makes a payment and the payee, this is the receiver of the payment, is sort of notified. But digital payments is all about also moving money from the payer's account in his bank to the payee's bank account. and that is the settlement part. This is typically always a process which goes from the payer bank via the central bank as some sort of router or a switch over to the payee bank. So settlement is always, when you gonna sort of settle the whole payment, it is an action which goes from the payer bank via the central bank over to the payee bank. And digital payment is about those two steps, sort of that there is payment and then there is sort of settlement. And what you see in the middle here is payment services that are set up for this, that help facilitate that sort of transaction. But there are various forms here. Instant payments, as many people are aware of. In India, we have UPI. In Sweden, where Magnus was the product leader for many years, we have sort of Swish, which is sort of an instant payment because they do payment and settlement in one step. So when you are notified that you've been paid, it's also been settled. That's sort of instant payment system. But there are card systems, and there are different kinds of digital payments here. There are crypto. Central banks are bringing out their own money called CBDC. So there's various flavors here. This is cash payments. You know, we took away all the payment services in the middle here. And what is happening is that this is money that is actually guaranteed by the central bank. The previous money was just guaranteed by the banks. Whatever you have on your bank account, the central bank doesn't guarantee that. That does the bank is guaranteeing that. But cash is always guaranteed by the central bank. So they distribute that money out to the banks, basically. And then you can, step one, withdraw that money using an ATM typically. You have that money in your hand. And then you can just, step two, pay to the payee. And then the payee, when he has some money, they can go back to the bank and deposit that. So there is a flow here of 3 steps. You withdraw money, you pay, hand over the cash, and then you deposit. 1, 2, 3, simple as that. This is what actually digital cash has resemblance of, but we also have resemblance of the settlement. And if we look at now digital cash payments, so we are back again to having the payment services because this is something we introduce here with digital cash. What we sort of have is that we introduce at the issuer side, the payer's bank, we introduce what we call it digital cash online. That is sort of one component that we are introducing in our architecture around digital cash. We also introduce a digital cash offline, which is a secure way of managing a balance all the way down in a mobile app, really. That's what we call digital cash offline. And the steps, what we have here is sort of similar to the 3 steps in cash payments. You reserve money, meaning that you're sort of putting hold on your money on your own bank account, and you reserve it out. It could be to your digital cash online or possibly to your digital cash offline. Reserve is step 1. Quite similar to withdrawing cash, actually, that you've taken that out from your bank account and you have the money in your hand instead. Step 2, pay, is simply the process of notifying the payee. And then step 3, settle. That's sort of, again, similar as in digital payments, that you have to move money between the payer bank and the payee bank. But the cool thing, what we've done here is that this is what if we talk about cash or digital goes cash, is that digital payments, like instant, I said, payment and settlement is one and the same step. In digital cash, as we see it, we always split these steps into 3 steps, 3 distinct steps: reserve money, pay, and settle. How long it is in between the payment and settlement, well, that could be, it's up to the sort of the bank. They could settle at any time, or they can wait for it. But that's sort of the idea is that we split the process into sort of 3 steps here: reserve, pay, and settle. And the good thing is why cash goes digital here is that it is as simple. We, as you see in the bottom here, we can pay without any connectivity, just like cash. That is what the digital cash offline provides. But what the digital cash online provides is that we can pay without the core banking system. Because very often in digital payment systems, the core banking systems, they're typically quite old systems and not really designed for the transaction volumes that you see. So we are able to pay without the core banking system, although we still settle from the CBS as usual. But as we have separated the steps between payment and settlement, we have created a robustness in this system, which is phenomenal. And we have been able to load balance the core banking system. That's the important thing that we do with digital cash payments. So what Crunchfish, we have been active in the market, both here in Sweden and in India. And during 2021, in mid 2021, we launched what we call then the digital cash product. And that was a way to reserve out money from the core banking system to one of many apps that you have on your phone. This was a digital cash product. We think it was a great product, and it gives you that ability to pay without any connectivity at all. However, payment is always about issuing and acquiring. It's about the payer side, and it's about the receiving side as well. And it's a challenge to build the entire acquiring side. So this product, although caught a lot of interest in the market, didn't immediately, catch on. All digital payments today are online payment. And all of a sudden we are coming here with an innovation, which is offline payment. And it didn't fly immediately because it risk departments in the banks and the payment services, they were concerned, how safe will this be? But what we've done now in 2022 is that we have gone from this product to a platform instead. And you can still see the digital cash product on the right side. It's still there. And it's an extremely important component because this is the bridge between the digital cash online and digital cash on non-mobile devices. So what we do now is that the interaction you see from the core banking system is that you reserve out money, but you reserve it out to a digital cash online account, which is like an overlay function, still sort of very much controlled by the bank on their premises, or it could be in the cloud or on-prem, however they want to do. And that allows you to pay. You can pay from mobiles, or you can pay from watches, or pay using net banking, pay from your home, from your computer. And from that level, we can reserve out money if you want to. If you want to use it offline without any connectivity, you can reserve some of that money to the digital cash offline layer. And then what we can do is to interchange money, which is digital cash offline, to smart cards, to wristbands with a smart chip, or if you have the smart chip on a key ring, or even on a feature phone using slim SIM technology. So we have a whole hierarchy here. So we've gone from something which was a digital cash product only offline to something which is sort of online as well and offline. And it also has a layer down here with the new types of bearer devices that you can have on, cards or wristbands or even feature phones. So it's a huge shift that we have gone from the product to platform. And the online part is already ready. The green part here you see here, we are in discussions already to start deploying this one, and we have then the digital cash offline that's been ready since summer this last year, and what we're going to have focus on is to add this layer that has not been developed yet, but we have experts within Crunchfish that has worked with those kind of technologies for years on smart chips, so we will be pretty fast there, I think. So the digital cash layers, what happens here? Well, at the top, you have the core banking system. And this is sort of your transactional banking account. This is completely in the core banking. But what the bank can do is to isolate the core banking system by allowing the user automatically or to a certain level, or maybe even manually, that they decide how much they want to reserve out to this digital cash online. Remember, this still is safely and securely within the bank. We're not really changing anything. What we do with the digital cash online is that we break up any payment process into those 3 steps. We reserve out, then we pay, separate step, and then we settle whenever the bank is sort of have the capacity in the core banking system to settle. And from this level, we could then take out money, digital cash offline, that works completely offline. And that could be on a mobile or on non-mobile devices. So this is a view on how the balances here travels. If you think of that at the top again, we have your account, your user account, or your customer account at the bank. From that, you could, in any way there, decide on how much you want to reserve out. So you take a part of that money is not available for you then to use that transaction account, because you put it instead on the digital cash sort of account online. And that whole balance is available there. And that's a shared balance that could be used by any mobile app. I know UPI is coming up with something called UPI 3.0, UPI Lite in India, but they have a problem because they made it as an online product, but you have the balances sitting separately in every app. In this way, all apps are using the same shared balance here. What I'm also showing here is on this level here from the digital cash online that you can reserve out or basically money to your digital cash offline in mobile apps. I have 2 examples. We've taken it down to app 1 or app 2, and that allows you now to use this completely offline. And that's a huge sort of benefit, that even if you don't have any data connectivity, you could still pay with that. And you can transfer it back and forth via 2 sort of, it could be mobile phones or feature phones or smart chips, or even you can pay to a cash register who can receive that digital cash. That is the whole hierarchy that we are sort of bringing in here. So this is that's sort of what I wanted to discuss with you today. That's our digital cash platform, something which have taken something which was pretty much of a niche product, the digital cash offline product that we went to market with, very proud of, and we still are. However, it didn't scale that well. It became a niche product for niche use cases. This one, however, this is not niche. This is sort of the future of payments, because with this product, we can have it digital cash on mobiles. You could access it via the web. You can have it on cards. You can have it on wearables. And this applies to any payment rail. This could be instant, like UPI or Swish in Sweden. It could be on the card rail. This is EMV, Eurocard, MasterCard, Visa. It could be for CBDC, for central bank digital currency. Or this could even be for crypto, given that you are having basically your crypto sitting at a bank account as well. Then we are adding features or adding sort of the ability to use digital cash even for crypto balances. So this we think is sort of a fantastic announcement, because what digital cash really does for the world is adding a lot of good features to any type of payment service. We're adding stability, we're adding availability, we're adding load balancing, we can add privacy, there are so many. And that's going to be the focus of next webinar. The webinar we're going to do in 2 weeks, because every second webinar we have decided will be on digital cash. And that's the focus next time. The digital cash benefits that we bring to payment services. You don't want to miss that. So that sort of ends the presentation. I don't know, I didn't check on time. I'm usually talking too much, but reasonably well. It's 8:21. So let's see if we can go for some Q&A. Let's see here, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if, do we have any, do we have any questions here now? This I should have, or I think I can put it to here. How do we control frauds? Good question. We will have a whole webinar on security. We will do that. But I'll start, and then I'll bring in my real payment experts, Magnus and Gagan. But I'll start with that. How do we control fraud? Well, on the digital cash online, this is as secure because it's what is called a layer 1 type of overlay we do. The underlying payment service has its sort of fraud mechanisms to control that. We are not changing anything. The only thing we do is that we divide up the flow into payment and settlement in 2 very distinct steps, but we're using the same thing. But what we do with digital cash offline is that we are bringing a new layer, a layer 2 overlay, with our own proprietary PKI-based protocol. And there we will need to sort of look at how fraud can be controlled for that, because that's what people have been a bit scared of. But believe me, this is what we've been focused on for 1.5 years, on how to solve that. And we're very proud that we think we have. But the first step for any bank would always be that we would go for digital cash online, which is sort of, again, a layer 1 overlay to the banks, which is using the same security protocol. Magnus, do you want to, or Gagan, Magnus maybe, do you want to say anything on the fraud part?
I mean, it's still, we just provide the technology, so it will be very much up to the banks or the central switches and so on to rely on their existing features and so on. What we do is to control the devices as such and have a very secure solution, as you were on to, Joachim. So we will never replace what is on the banks and their responsibilities, of course. So I think that's the key message. Sometimes there is like a confusion that we deliver the whole thing, but we deliver components which are run by existing parties on the market today. So
so Magnus, just to add, having said that, we have ways to ensure that there is no double spending, which is important, considering that some of the balance could be offline as well, and that could address part of the query that you raised.
Yeah, we will, as I said, in this webinar series, there are many aspects of digital cash. This is the overview that we're providing, but we will go deep down. Next time, benefits, as I said, in February, we're planning probably to do one session completely on just on CBDC and another one on the security on the mobile app side that we have developed together with, or we are using the Viki system, and we're going to talk about that. So you're going to hear, if you follow this webinar series, you're going to hear a lot more of the aspects here. I saw one competition. Someone asked, okay, great presentation. Thank you for that, whoever wrote that. But they were asking, what is the competition? Magnus, is there competition for this sort of deal? Have you seen digital cash platform like this with anyone really?
I would say in the combination which we now have, no. But of course, there are bits and pieces all around in the world in where you might be able to combine it. But I think we are first to deliver this as a platform.
What have you seen in Gagan? What have you seen in India, where you're close to the Indian market and been a payment expert for, I don't know how, your career. How do you compare this with what you're seeing in India?
I think if I was not to directly talk about competition, but to speak about how the kind of reception we have received from the payment services and the banks, I think it's really drawing a warm reception, and people realize that for the first time there is an entire solution which caters to an online solution for low ticket transactions as well as high value transactions, offloading the core banking systems of the banks, as well as an offline solution which caters to so many wearables, and that solution itself is unique in itself. That's my sense, and that's the feedback that I'm getting from the partners in the market.
Magnus, I see you are quick here. You're sitting and chatting with the people. Have you picked up any questions, Magnus, that we should bring out sort of verbally as well?
Yeah, we got this question about digital cash online. How does it connect with the merchant and payee bank? I just answered Timmy here again, but it's we deliver components to the payee and the payer bank, and then this will then communicate with APIs between the different parties in order to get it working. So very much already what we have today using the offline solution, but we kind of move the components to other parties and then make the communication running in between.
But also for digital cash online, how do we notify? I think in India, there has been a big drive for interoperability, service interoperability, and many payment services. In India, it's not like Sweden. In Sweden, we have Swish, where Magnus came from. This is what we use for instant payment. But in India, there are hundreds of apps, and the central bank has demanded that the QR code should be interoperable. And in order to ensure that, this is not just for UPI, but also for wallets. In order to ensure that, they are using the UPI backbone in order to be the routing between payer and sort of payee in a way. And digital cash would use that as well, or the payer bank will use that routing in order to notify payee bank or the payee using the same backbone that is actually readily available. India is just a fantastic, I don't know if I got that from one of the ministers of India, that 10 years ago, India was twice the number of transactions as the US, and it was a third of China. Now in 2022, or at the end of 2021, India is more than twice of China in terms of millions of transactions, and probably 15 times larger than the entire US market. So India is the place to be when it comes to digital payments. It's just clear, and it's just they're going from they're developing so quickly. So I'm really excited that we are part of the we'll be part of this Indian sort of journey here with our digital cash platform.
And just to add to that, Joachim, I think the recent announcement by the Reserve Bank of India in terms of the framework for offline payments also gives a strong platform for digital cash to be launched within the banking world as well as the payment services. So I think it's just the right time that the entire system is coming together, and it's a great time to take to the banks into the market.
RBI, because India is, we are working here particularly in two markets. We are active in some others, particularly via Viki, as I described. We're active in Southeast Asia as well. But Sweden, we live in Ericsson land, where there is so much sort of connectivity everywhere. India is not like that. India has great connectivity, or now I shouldn't say even great, spotty connectivity, data connectivity in the cities and maybe 50 miles outside. But otherwise, there is just telecom connectivity. So offline payments is a must to really have that if you're going to digitize the entire country. So big parts of India only have telecom connectivity, no data. So RBI, the Central Bank of India, has been driving for offline payments needs to happen. And they had a pilot phase, but just recently they announced that now this is a regulatory framework that you can do offline payments, and here are the rules for that. And that was very well received. I think it just came, was it last week even, Gagan? Yep. Any more payments here? It's just coming in, and I'm let's see, I'm scrolling back here, blah blah blah. Someone is asking about, have we made calculation on how much energy and CO2 emission banks would save if they implement? Well, I think compared to crypto, that they will probably save a couple of nuclear power plants, because that's extremely sort of power inefficient. But otherwise, I think the main benefit for the banks is that they don't have to build their system designed for peak capacity. Because if you always need your core banking system to be available, and you have to follow basically the market of how many transactions you're getting, you have to design for absolute peak capacity in your core banking system. This allows you to have a lot of, can do load balancing, as I said, and that will help a lot. But otherwise, transaction-wise, I think it is efficient today as well. But it particularly, I guess, compared to crypto, that we will see a big change. Any more particular questions? Magnus, you've been chatting with people as we have been sitting here. There was someone here from Sweden saying, in the past, it was possible to get a cash card from the bank that feed with and load with cash. What is the difference beside it? It's a card of a mobile app. Is it maybe that the bank is still involved in transaction? Well, in Sweden, we had the cash card, but it never really took off. And the problem they had with the cash card was that it was a solution, just like our digital cash offline, that it needed to have something on the payer side, and they had to build then something on the payee side, the receiver side as well. And special terminals, and I think the banks got out of it because it became too expensive. What we do now with the digital cash online is the ability to, without having to address sort of the acquiring side as the first step, we could integrate all existing payment services. And the other thing I think was the main difference is that Cashflow was a new service. Digital cash, we could launch this as a new independent service, but what we do instead is to improve on existing payment services. We're not going to compete with them. That's not the plan. But with Swish, they have all the Swedes. 90% of the Swedes are using Swish. So why would we develop our own payment service? Instead, we could use or we can help Swish and their banks to become an even more robust instant payment service, for instance. But we will do the same in India. So we don't have to, we deliver sort of technology to those services instead of actually building our own service like the cash card here.
Joachim, there are a few questions from Prashant towards the end.
Yeah.
In terms of, you want
to take them, Gagan? Because it's sort of your market.
Yeah. So Prashant, definitely we are talking to some of the biggest banks as well as payment services in India. Like I said, the solution is being received very warmly, and the discussions are at different levels. In some cases, the discussions are at very advanced levels. In some cases, the discussions are just beginning. So hopefully that should answer your question. In terms of the larger banks catering to the customer base in India, could be PSUs. Just to take the case of, just as an example, if SBI was the PSU you're talking about, all these banks are very, very advanced in terms of, net banking solutions, UPI-led solutions, and very ready to take any such new technology. It's just a matter of maybe some bank taking a little bit more time than the other to kind of adopt and evolve with such technologies. So sooner than later, this is going to be the way forward. That's our understanding, and that's how we're moving forward.
Magnus, maybe this for you. I see a question here. How will we be able to make sure that the end users feel safe handling cash this way or digital cash this way? Is this a challenge?
But again, I mean, it's we provide the technology, and it will be very much up to the parties who actually deliver the solutions to the market, who will integrate the solution. In most cases, I think it will be pretty invisible to the users, or our dream scenario is that you should not hardly know when you use one way or another. But in the beginning, I think it's important that you make it educational and so on. I don't know, Joachim, if you would like to add something.
Yeah, well, I see it a little bit. The digital cash online is simply, there's that's, as I said before, layer one. We're using the same security, native security protocol of the payment service or the banks. And what we do is just that we provide a window so you can see that balance on your app. But the bank safely safeguards that. There's no security issue at all with digital cash online. With offline, that's another balance which you could, reserve out on your mobile phone. And that's a separate balance that is available for you to use sort of offline. And yeah, I guess, but I think the concern, if the banks wouldn't feel comfortable of the security level of that, I don't think they will introduce digital cash offline. But I think we have worked hard on ensuring that high level of security. And as I said, in February, we will have a session which will be talking about digital cash using the Wiki secure element, virtual secure element environment, which ensures many of those things. So let's see. Yeah. Shall we move on? Because we yeah, it came another question. Last question then, and then we move on to what we said to be a little bit of a participation or co-creation. Security being on aspect from a consumer perspective. What have you identified as the compelling event, driving force that will accelerate a commercial breakthrough? I think it is, if I answer that, the digital cash online, because that brings the load balancing, because we basically isolate away this the core banking system. Magnus, in Swish, Swish is such a mission critical system or payments critical system in Sweden, and when Swish goes down, which is reported in our newspapers, as you know, it's quite seldom Swish. It is the banks that go down most of the time. And they have the financial regulatories in Sweden onto them, saying that you need to stabilize this. And I think the digital cash online is the way to do that. So this the bank will know that, and they want that. In India, I think it is the fact that we are giving them that load balancing, which is so needed, because India is just exploding, as I said, with transaction. That means that the core banking system for some banks are on their knees in order to cope. But we could load balance that, which is extremely important for them. So I think that is what will bring them. And that's the first phase. Any bank would take digital cash online as the first step. And then you go to offline. And then you can offer sort of those cards or wearables or even on feature phones as sort of a third step. And that's the plan we're having here. Who owns the credit risk, the bank or the fintech partner or both? Well, it's right now RBI, if we talk about India, they have specified who has the risk. That's been defined by the regulatories. That will be typically what happens, that you define those things from a regulatory perspective, and that's I think that's just what's going to happen when it comes to offline. Online is very much just having it on the bank and the bank account, so that's sort of the same thing. But let's change focus a little bit to co-creation. Thanks for all the questions. We love that. And again, that's what this was for. But let's have. When you see this, when you hear this, and no ideas are, it's sort of like a brainstorming almost. Can we make this even better? Do you see something that, well, if you had that as well? Or yeah, it could be maybe you have some ideas in your mind that wow, I like this, but what if they did that as well, or whatever, or please contact the CEO of my bank because we need this, and you can just you can tell us that or send us that later. But we're just interested honestly in your help. We think we have something great here, but we know that from your ideas, maybe we can make it even better. I know it's sort of an open question. This is the first webinar, and maybe it's, maybe it won't be that many ideas. I don't know. But this is something we will do on every webinar. We will always have that. We will end first a presentation, then a Q&A, and then this co-creation. So you'll get used to it, that we will keep bugging you if you keep turning into these, that please come with your ideas, because I think it's sometimes with some of your ideas is that what, because that's why we name this, the survival of the fittest, because it's all about it's all about this idea of it's all about the idea of being most responsive to change, the environment, and understanding what's going on, and be able to change with that. That's the winner. Whoever is most responsive wins. That's what we believe. Not the strongest, not the most intelligent, but the most responsive. And that's why we coined the entire webinar this way. But again, we've said this gonna always end at 9 o'clock our time. I guess this would be 1:30 Indian time. But we don't necessarily have to just drag it out. So let's just say that, there were not too many ideas right now. That's fine. I also, someone is asking, where can we see the recording? Well, we'll put it out, probably coming out in the morning. It will be on our web. It will be on our social channels, LinkedIn, Facebook. So you can see it. Yeah. Someone is coming with an idea here. Johan Klingberg saying, can we use this for gaming platforms? As instead of cash, people could trade tokens, coin, gems, token. Yeah, absolutely, Johan. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good idea. And that's a big market, as you know. So not a problem at all. I want to, just before we leave, just give you a sense of what's coming next. Well, we're going to do this every Friday at 8 o'clock, Central European time, 12:30 Indian time. And the schedule is this. I've actually swapped around this morning, and I thought this is a better order. We're going to do gesture next time. Crunchfish is a deep technology company. We have digital cash, but we also have really cool technology within the gesture interaction area. And that's, let's just show that. And it's going to be an introduction to what is gesture interaction that we use for AR, VR, automotive, big public screens. It's a lot of use cases there, but just describe what it is. That's the next Friday. Back to digital cash. And then, as I said, it's going to be on digital cash benefits. That's what we will address on the 21st. And then we're going to interleave this with a more of a broader Crunchfish focus. Talk to you about how are we working with investor relations in Crunchfish. Maybe not for everybody to listen to that one. I'm sure the investment community that I know are here as well today, maybe are keen to know and also come with ideas. How can we make this even better? Because that's what we're interested to do. So with that said, I think we have come to an end. Time is 45. That's sort of roughly what I hope that it shouldn't take an hour. 45 is fine. With that, I'd like to thank my fantastic colleagues and panelists, Magnus Lagesson, thank you very much, and Gagan Koshar from Delhi. Any ending words from you, Magnus, or Gagan, any thoughts?
I think we got a lot of good questions and was good interaction in the chat. So,
yeah, it's fun, isn't it, Magnus?
Yeah.
We like that.
And I, for one, see a brilliant future for digital cash in India with these new changes. So hopefully looking forward to a lot of interaction with the panelists through the webinars series that we are launching now.
Excellent, excellent. No, so and thanks, audience. As Magnus said, great questions. We learn from your questions a lot, and that makes us even better. And yeah, this will be available as a recorded session in just a few hours on crunchfish.com, but also on, if you can find us on Facebook or on LinkedIn. It will be available on all those sort of channels. All right, thank you so much. I'm happy with the premiere is now over and we can go back to, having breakfast now here in Sweden, and I go late lunch in India, and hope to see you next week then. Thanks a lot.